Welcome to my little corner. These are $1,500 worth of PC components I bought on Shopee, and let's build it. Every PC component was chosen very carefully, and you might have some questions with my choices. That's why for this video, I thought it was very important that I break down in detail every single component, why I got it, and the logic behind it. Plus, I will give some solid alternative if you want to save money or if you have more budget, because at the end of the day, PC is all about customization, and my needs and your needs are different. For the CPU, which I'm pretty sure is this parcel, I went with the AMD Ryzen 5 9600X. I paid $315 for the bulk packaging, so there's no cooler or proper box. The only catch is this is the only item that is pre-ordered. So while the rest came one day after I ordered, this came 8 days later. So the main reason why I got a 9600X compared to the 7600X or the 7600 is a little bit because of future-proofing. This runs on the latest Zen 5 architecture with higher boost clock speeds and at the same time lower base clock speeds. That means the TDP for the 9600X is a lot lower at 65 watts if I'm not wrong, compared to the 76, which is 105 watts. This means at idle it should run less power and also be cooler. But honestly, in terms of gaming, there is little to no difference compared to the 7600. So if you really want to save money, you can buy the 7600. Unfortunately, the 7600X is sold out island-wide for some reason, or it's very expensive. But the 7600 is on Shopee for $255. If I'm not wrong, Tecware also sell it for like $235. With the extra money, you can get like a better GPU or SSD. But personally, I do value a CPU with higher performance, even if it doesn't work on gaming, for general computing and video editing. So a slight bump of performance does matter to me. With that said, the 9600X reviews at launch were pretty negative. The gaming performance or any performance improvement from the 7600X was very little, especially compared to the price. This was like $400, $450 at launch, so definitely not worth it at all. So only buy the 9600X if there's a good deal, which I think I did. I'll link all the components in the description, even the 7600 and the 7600X if it's in stock. And if you're in Singapore, I embedded in the description so you can actually see the link and the updated price. Now, if you have extra budget for your CPU to play with, I recommend getting the 7800X3D for about $500, depending the links below. Because this CPU has 2 extra cores and is really good for gaming. If you have extra budget, around $700, the 9800X3D is hands down the king of gaming CPU. But that is definitely out of the budget. Next, we have the motherboard, which I think I bought it from Performance Private Limited. We have the PSU, which we will go to it later. It's gonna be either the B650 for around $180 or the B850. It's gonna cost you about $220. And this is B850MX Wi-Fi Pro. Main improvements are higher speed USB, higher speed M.2 slots, PCIe 5 for both GPU and SSD. Basically more room for future upgrades. Also less issue for your RAM and BIOS, especially when you use the 9000 series with a B650 motherboard. But if you decide to get the 7600, definitely save more money with the B650. And again, all the links are in the description below. Let's add in the CPU. Alright, triangle to triangle. Put it in there. There we go. Next is supposed to be RAM and SSD, but I think it's in this. Alright, it's actually packaged pretty well in the case. I have RAM and my SSD. But let's do the RAM first. For RAM, I have DDR5 Crucial 2x16GB of 6000 mega transfer CL36. This is specifically good for the AMD Expo, so I can get it at its proper speed. And most people would definitely have a problem with the CL36 latency. But what I found out is for 6000 mega transfers per second, CL36 compared to CL30 is very little improvement. But the price difference can be crazy. This set costs $131 and a set that's similar to this, that CL30 or CL32, can cost $200 or even $300. So the conclusion for me for RAM in terms of this whole latency thing is just get the one with the best deal. Unless the price for the CL32 is just slightly above, then yeah, there's no point. Also, these are white. which is gonna match the case later. Next, for NVMe SSD, I went for Crucial T500 1TB. I paid $119.90, and this has to be the best value in terms of DRAM SSD. The difference between a DRAM versus a non-DRAM SSD is one that is faster and more consistent, better efficiency in mapping, meaning that it will last longer, faster random read and write speeds, emphasis on the random, so this is very good for your OS, your Windows. The only downside is that it's expensive. My recommendation is to use DRAM SSDs for storage that you use often, your OS, your video editing, and games that you often play. DRAM-less SSDs for media storage, maybe games that you don't often play. But I mean, it's not the end of the world if you install your OS on a DRAM-less SSD, but it could be the difference between the SSD lasting 2 to 4 years and 5 to 6 years if you use a DRAM SSD. So there's nothing to worry, especially if you're gonna upgrade anyway in the next 2 years. But if you want to just buy one time and don't worry about it for the next 5 years, then get a DRAM SSD. Okay, next for the CPU cooler. Yeah, let's add the CPU. I think this is the CPU cooler. It's Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE White ARGB. I bought this for $49.90. I wanted to buy the deep cool because the deep cool it looks so good, but that's another $15 which I can't justify at this budget. I'll also list a cheaper one, same brand. If I'm not wrong, just half of this, $28.90, something like that. So you save another $15 to $20, and it's going to be better than a stock cooler anyway. Before I install this, let me just talk about the case. So the case I bought is Tecware's Timber. If you can see the packaging in the front, real wood front panel. Wow. This is definitely a copy of Fractal's design. I forgot what is it called, but y'all know what I'm talking about. For a fraction of the price. This cost me $61.90, which if you're comparing it with Fractal design, this is a really good deal. But honestly, if you don't really care about aesthetics, you can buy another Tecware case, $40. Yeah, you save another $20. And I don't know whether you can see the theme here. It's a lot of $20 extra, $50 extra for the CPU. And if you save money from all of this, you can actually get a better GPU, which we will talk about, because I'm gonna tell you, I kind of regretted after buying this GPU. But we'll get that really soon, because I just want to say PC components, some might not make sense in terms of value, but if you want it to look good, I mean, it's not that bad. I really think for $61, this is a really good deal. Next, we talk about the PSU. I got this is the Thermalright TR SG65 watts. I don't recommend chipping out on a PSU. This is the cheapest you should go. I will not recommend anything lower. What gives me confidence for this brand is that they give 5 years warranty, which is a good clue of how reliable a PSU is. Not a definite answer, but definitely look for warranty that is 5 years, 7 years, even 10 years of warranty. But those cost $200 and $300. And you should definitely avoid PSUs that have warranty at 2 to 3 years. I'll list all the alternative parts I have in the description, but really I won't recommend anything lower than this. And yeah, I think the packaging looks pretty good. Yeah, it's also in white. So the last component, which I regret buying, because remember I told you for the CPU I had to wait 8 days. So yeah, after buying this and waiting 8 days, you know what, I'll tell you later. I bought for $488 Zotac, with a free mousepad, gaming GeForce RTX 5060. The main reason why I bought this instead of the Radeon RX 9060 XT is because at the time of buying, which was just last week, the 9060 XT was $600 plus, probably because of shortage. So you can imagine how I felt when now shooting it, checking back the price, the same store sells a ASRock 9060 XT for $495. Then I go and check TechYard, $445. You pay cheaper for better performance, except for ray tracing. So after researching the price, I bought a 9060 XT. 8GB. Then we can test it out anyway. Take it as a punishment for just not being patient, okay? Yeah, I'll buy it. But here's the thing, with this experience, this opens up a conversation about GPU reviews compared to price, especially in Singapore. When the 5060 came out, the reviews were super negative or horrible. Very little improvement gains, and the whole like, what, 5060 is 4090, was it, or was it the 5070? I forgot. But it was big claims that potong steam. But in Singapore, if let's say this was, to put it easy, $450 and the 9060 XT was $600, $150 more, which will you pick? Right, at the end of the day, it's the price. I mean, if this GPU was $200, everybody would be buying it. This would be the standard GPU, but it's not. So I think the whole reason for this build and giving you a lot of alternative parts is that it really depends on the price. And for some reason, the Singapore market goes up and down, up and down. Some components are better than others. In this age, the CPU market is very obvious just to go for AMD. But there is certain times that no, actually no, sorry Intel. I wanted to give you a bit of benefit of doubt, but it's very hard to recommend Intel CPUs. But conclusion is, everything really depends on price, especially for GPUs. So for the build, I'll just do it very quick, okay? Because this is not a how to build. Do you want how to build videos? I'm thinking of remaking my how to build a PC in Singapore. Especially after buying online, there's another perspective of how to buy a PC. Also, one more thing that I forgot to mention. You know, if we actually save on the CPU, motherboard, case, CPU cooler, that adds up really quickly. Probably have an extra $200, I think around there, to upgrade your GPU. So instead of getting a 5060, you can at least get a 5070. But here's the thing, other than the CPU, motherboard component, which is more preference, CPU cooler and PSU, I mean case. The PSU, SSD, RAM, there's not much to gain. Or rather, chipping it out can cost you a lot of troubles in the future. So instead of getting the alternative parts, why not just add $200 for your budget and you get a little bit better? It's a bit more expensive and everything, but you get better every other part, you know? That's why for this build, I don't call it the most valuable PC, but it's what I value in each and every part. Looks wise, CPU performance, extra high-speed USB, Wi-Fi, better CPU cooling, you know, all these things really does add up. And it's okay if you don't value it and you want to get all the cheapest parts, because you have a different mindset than me. That's the whole point of PC building. Customize your heart desires. My personal PC, the case and everything, nothing to do with the components, $300. The case is $250. The hell? But I love it. I realize I'm ranting a bit, so I'm gonna do the build really quick with editing. Oh, not too bad. Nice small little guy. Everything is pretty much installed except for the cable management and the back, so we're gonna plug this in and see how it looks. Okay, let's try. Ooh! All I have to do is install Windows, install some games, and test this bad boy out. Okay, it's been a few days. I bought the AMD 9060 XT from Tecware for $445. And boy, these two cards can't be more different, even though they are same price and about the same specs. So let's start with synthetic benchmark 3D Mark. Anything I throw at the 9060 XT, it wins everything. From DX11 to DX12, and even ray tracing, which is supposed to be Nvidia's thing. AMD has improved their ray tracing so much that it beats the last generation 7700 XT, which even today is a more expensive card. But synthetic benchmarks are just benchmarks. What about real world games? So I tested out 3 games: Cyberpunk, Doom Dark Ages, and CS2. I didn't manage to do the graphics in time, but I'll just put up the numbers, so let's get into it. So Cyberpunk Ultra 1440p, no ray tracing, no AI upscaler, no DLSS, no FSR. 9060 wins by 4 FPS. Turn on ray tracing medium still without AI. The 5060 wins by 2 FPS. So you can see how similar these two cards are. Now with AI upscaler on balance with frame generation. With DLSS 4, the 5060 went from 33 FPS to 185 FPS. Whereas the SFR 3.0 9060 XT went from 31 FPS to 123 FPS. Even though AMD is lacking behind in AI upscaler, they have definitely improved so much since last year. And the fact that not a lot of people like DLSS says a lot. Next is Doom the Dark Ages. This is going to be quite interesting because this game only has ray tracing on, so you can't turn it off. And people are quite angry about that as well. And this game is hungry on memory. So both cards with 8GB is struggling to play this game. All these are at nightmare settings, so it's the higher settings. Without any AI, both GPU hover around 44 to 45 FPS, so very similar. Turn on FSR 3.0 and the 9060 XT shoots up to 95 FPS. But when I turn on DLSS with 5060, it crashed down to 18 FPS. Yeah, 18. And I tried to test it multiple times. It might be an anomaly, but I suspect it's because maybe DLSS uses more RAM. And only having 8GB, actually only 7.8 GB of GDDR7 memory. Maybe that's why it's struggling. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe it is. Next is gonna be CS2 because this game is CPU bound. And here's where it's so confusing. The 5060 pulls ahead with 223 FPS on average, while the 9060 XT is 190. And what's the interesting part is when I looked at the data, with the 5060, the CPU was running at 46% utility, while the 9060 XT runs at only 40%. So that's an extra 6% usage. And for this, I suspect it's because of the GDDR7 on the 5060 compared to the GDDR6 on the 9060 XT. Extra speed probably helped give a bit of headroom for the CPU. So these are the only 3 games I tested. If you want to see more, just let me know. So here's the deal. If both cards are priced at $480, I would probably pick the 5060. Even though they are concentrating more on AI, it's still comparing, if all both the same price, is a pretty good card. And with GDDR7, it does help your overall PC experience. But in reality, this is $445 on Tecware. So at that price, saving $35, I might lean a bit more to the 90.